Welcome to the City of Santa Cruz's informational webinar about Measure C. This is the Workforce Housing Affordability Act of 2025. My name is Jessi Bond. I'm a Principal Management Analyst in the city's Finance Department and the contact for Measure C. And we will get started. All right, so on the agenda for this evening, we will review what Measure C is, the two taxes that are involved with Measure C, which are the parcel and transfer tax, and we will go through what exemptions are available and how to apply for those. So what is Measure C? Measure C is a citizen-led tax measure which was passed and approved by the voters in 2025. The funds from this measure will support various affordable housing efforts and homelessness prevention. We do expect about $2 million in revenue per year to support these efforts. As mentioned, the revenue is generated from the two taxes involved, which is the parcel tax at $96 per year and a transfer tax on the sale of homes of $1.8 million. Both taxes do start tomorrow, July 1st. However, I did want to note, and we'll also review in the exemption portion, that the deadline for the exemptions is July 16th, so you have some time. And some just breaking news, we are going to extend that deadline to July 24th. So again, you have a few weeks here to apply for the exemption and get the documents in. And again, we'll go over that entire process. There is specific language in the measure on how the money can be spent. Included here, we can see a high-level overview, which is 87% towards affordable housing efforts, 10% in homelessness prevention, and 3% towards just administering this measure. On the city's website, which is santacruzca.gov, and then /Measure C. We do have an extensive list of what the funds can be used for directly. The measure also requires an oversight committee, which will include city staff and community members. That committee will periodically report to City Council on how those funds are being used, how much we've collected, etc. So going into each of the taxes, again, there is a parcel tax, which is a $96 per year tax. This amount will not increase during the 20-year life of this act. And also just to note, this amount cannot be passed down to renters. This tax will be paid on property taxes, and we will review the available exemptions and how to apply for those shortly. And the other tax is a transfer tax. This is a progressive marginal tax on the sale of homes that are over 1.8 million, with a cap per transaction of $200,000. We included just a sample tax calculation here just to show the progressive marginal tax. As you can see, it is $0 up to 1.8 million, and the tax rates go into effect after that. One other example would be on a sale that is 1.9 million, that tax is only charged on the $100,000 over 1.8 million. There are exemptions for the transfer tax as well, which we will go through briefly. And I also did want to note that there is a bill currently moving through state legislature that could cap the transfer tax at 1.5%. As you can see right now, it does go to 2%, but we are following that closely, and we will keep the Measure C webpage updated with information. Or you can always contact me about questions about that as well. So going into exemptions, I think the probably most common exemptions will be for the parcel tax, and there are two main exemptions that qualify people to be exempt from the parcel tax. That is a low income homeowners and then also a low income senior, 65 and older exemption. To meet these requirements, the home must be your primary residence. And then you can also see here on the screen, so for the low income exemption, the income must be at 60% the area median income. And for the senior exemption, it is 80% of the area median income. On the next slide, I will show you a chart of what those actually represent, so you can easily kind of match up your income and see if you qualify. Um, Going through these different exemptions, you do only need one document showing each in each category. So to show it's your primary residence, that could be a utility bill, a property tax statement, something of those lines that show the home address on it. You're welcome to block out any sensitive information like social security numbers. For income, it could be most popular has been tax documents or a social security statement. And then also for the senior exemption, just to prove 65 or older, that could be a driver's license, Medicare card, or a copy of a passport. Um, Also to note that one way to prove income, if you participate in CalFresh or PG&E Care program, that can also be your proof of income. And one nice thing about the PG&E Care program is providing your PG&E bill can then both satisfy the income requirement and show that it's your primary residence. We will go through these a little bit more as well, but moving on here to here is the chart showing income. This is based off the state of California as the area median income, or AMI for Santa Cruz. That is that top row there. It is based on the number of individuals that own the home. And then you can see the second line represents the 60% for low income, and the third line represents 80% for senior income. This chart can be found on the city's website, the Measure C page, and also, again, if you have any questions about qualifying, please feel free to contact me. So how to apply for the parcel tax exemption. The application is online. That is santacruzca.gov /Measure C. If you do prefer a paper application, you can contact me and I can mail that to you. And you can do so at the email address askfinance@santacruzca.gov, or feel free to give me a call. That's 420-5068. Whenever you fill out that application, it is mostly your basic contact information, but please also have your parcel number ready. That is required for the application. Following up the application, there are, again, some documents to send in. You only need one from each category. So again, that's just proof of ownership and primary residence. So again, that could be a property tax statement or utility bill. It's the proof of income, meeting those income thresholds from the previous slide. That can be a tax statement. It is the taxable income. And I only need that one page only. You don't need to send me your whole tax statement. For most people, it's been page 2. And again, feel free to block out social security numbers or any other private information that we don't need. And again, you can also send in acceptance from CalFresh or PG&E Care. Also, your PG&E bill, if you participate in that program, does list PG&E Care right on the bill. So a PG&E bill works as well. And then again, for the senior exemption only, it is proof of age. So again, that could be a copy of driver's license, Medicare card, or passport. We would like you to mail those documents to 1200 Pacific Avenue, Suite 290, and that's 95060. Please make sure to write care of Measure C or my name, Jessi Bond, just to make sure those get to my office. If you'd prefer to do any of this in person and not mail these documents, I will be at the city manager's office on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And I can answer questions, I can accept paperwork during that time. The city manager's office is located at 809 Center Street, room 10. So if you would like to come there on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., you're welcome to do so. Here, I just wanted to show what the online application looks like. Each one of these is a page that you have to fill out before moving on to the next page, clicking that continue button at the bottom. And starting from kind of the left-hand side of your screen, you can see it's just your basic contact information. Going to the second page, it's the property address if it is different, as well as your parcel number. And moving on to the third page, just select which exemption you're applying for. That would only be one. And then you just have to sign the bottom, but there's a place to kind of do that and sign with your cursor. Again, if you would prefer a paper form to fill out, let me know and I can mail you one, or you can come pick one up at the city manager's office on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 1 and 4. So moving into the transfer tax exemptions, there are several different types of exemptions that could be available. Examples of that could be like the transfer of a title, if a business name changed. And so all those exemptions can be found at santacruzca.gov/Measure C. There is no need to apply for those exemptions. You can work with your title company to see if you qualify, or of course they can contact me, or you can as well. So after applying, what happens next? I will contact you if you have any questions or if I feel any documents are missing. Once your application is approved, if you've provided an email address, I will follow up via email to let you know, but I will also mail you a letter just for your record showing that you are approved. Or certainly if you have the status about your application, you can feel free to contact me. And I have my contact info on the screen there. And it will be on the next slide as well. So that concludes the formal presentation. If you would prefer to talk about anything privately, feel free to give me a call at 420-5068 or email me at askfinance@santacruzca.gov. And let's see, we will dive into some questions. All right. So the first question, will you be posting these slides on the city website? Yes, we certainly will, as well as a recording of this presentation. And I believe if you're registered as well, a link of the recording will be sent to you, but we'll make sure this is up on the website. Yes. So the next question is, I'm a senior that owns a rental property. Is that property eligible for an exemption? So in order to qualify, the property must be your primary residence. So it sounds like that is not the case here. So I'm going to say no, that is not qualifying. Again, just needs to be your primary residence to qualify. Let's see. Will there be an ongoing option to apply for an exemption? At this point, there potentially could be an annual just renewal process. We're hoping to streamline that as much as possible, but people's income does change over time, and so we will try to make it easy in future years. Um, but for this year, the July 24th is the deadline for this tax year. And so exemptions will be applied for this year. And, hopefully everybody can get them in by July 24th. We do have to report the to exemptions to the county, so they remove that bill from your property taxes. So there will be a hard deadline for us to get those in. So, next question is there a provision in the law to change the limits? For example, instead of starting at 1.8 million, this could say be lowered to 400,000. The tiers in the measure are defined by the measure, so it would take a revision of the measure to change those tiers. So I don't expect them to change. So next question is, four people live in our home, the only two are listed. So generally, the number of people is determined by the family size and should be the same for those exemptions based off the income. And so it seems like four people would apply if they're living in the home. Question 6, are the senior and low income exemptions the same amount? They are not. So the senior exemption is 80% of the area median income, where low income is 60%. So those amounts are a little bit different. I was just seeing, let me go back to that slide, and actually I can leave it up here for you to reference. There we go. So again, just to answer that question, so here you see that low income is 60% of the area median income, where seniors are at 80%. So those amounts are going to be different. Question 7 is a good one. Can we apply subsequent years if we don't qualify this year due to a one-time additional income? Yes, absolutely. You can certainly apply when you qualify. Question 8 is, I thought I read somewhere that this may be up for repeal in the November election. Yes, we were expecting that as well. The latest I have is that Act did not make it to the November ballot. If anything changes about that, we will certainly keep the webpage updated with information. And but that act could come up in subsequent elections. So, but we are not anticipating that be on this year's November ballot. Question 9, is this for city residences? Yes, this is only for the city of Santa Cruz. It does not apply to the entire county, just within the city of Santa Cruz limits. If you have a question about if you live in city limits, feel free to give me a call and we can look up your address. The next question, how will we decide what is affordable housing? I think this is maybe in reference to how money will be spent. There will be an oversight committee that will look at applicable projects and ultimately decide how the money is spent. I assume we would use whatever standards we have at the city for affordable housing. Yes. So the next question is, I did say the transfer tax applies to homes, but yes, it does apply to all properties sold within the city limits. That is correct. Thank you for that question. So the next question is about a future eligibility again. So if you don't qualify this year but want to apply in future years, you can go to the city's website and in the search bar there, search up Measure C and it will pop up, or the full web address is santacruzca.gov / Measure C. So the next question is about, sorry, reading the question here. So it just says, my 2025 tax returns do not qualify for the senior exemption, but their financial situation has changed for 2026. If you have anything representing that income for 2026, that would be what we would be looking for. So that might be a pay stub or a monthly Social Security statement. But if you are still on and have that question, feel free to give me a call and we can talk through what you may have and some options there. Question 15. Is there a transfer exemption for inherited property? Yes. If you are transferring a title or passing down property to a family or friend, the transfer tax does not apply. It really represents the actual sale of a home where money is exchanged. Um, oh, good question. What are the city standards for affordable housing? And that can be found on the city's website under the Department Community Development, as well as there's a page for housing assistance information and resources. Great. I think that was just posted into the chat. So if that was your question, hopefully you can click that link and be able to access that information, or feel free to look it up on the city's website as well. So the next question is, I don't see transfers to revocable trusts being exempt. Is there an exemption for this regular estate planning practice? Yes. In general, only monetary transfers are subject to the tax. So it doesn't seem like a revocable trust, or I'm sorry, it does seem like a revocable trust would be exempt. So again, another similar question, just about leaving your home to your loved ones. That would not, the transfer tax would not be applicable in that case. So if you are leaving a property in a title or in your will, that would not be subject to the transfer tax and would be exempt. So the next question is just about the sale of a $13 million home or sale of a $100 million home. And unfortunately, because there is a cap on that, in both of those cases, the transfer cost would be to $200,000, as that is the max portion of that tax. Next question, our current property tax bill, I'm not sure, doesn't say anything. Does that mean only one on the tax bill can apply? So if you have one person, it's really representing the homeowners. So the person who is on the title of the home should be the one applying. If you have two individuals or more living on your home, but only one on the title, really that one person should be the applicant. But again, if you have a specific situation, feel free to give me a call and we can talk that out. So again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to give me a call, 420-5068, or ask finance at santacruzca.gov. And we'll just see if any new questions came in. New question, is there an exemption for the transfer tax? Yes, there are several different types of exemptions for the transfer tax. You don't necessarily need to apply in all those cases, so I definitely recommend checking out the city's website for Measure C, as they are all listed there. The text of the statute can also be found on the city website, and it's in the Q&A section towards the bottom. So if you're looking at, you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you can find the full text. Good question. When will the money be invested for affordable housing? We don't have a specific timeline for that quite yet, but again, we'll keep that web page open. And certainly, if there is an application process for funds, we'll give plenty of notice for that. So new question came in for the senior exemption, is the total income or gross income? It's your adjusted gross income can be used for that. And can admin costs ever be more than 3%? They no more than 3% will be paid from these funds. So, we may spend more than 3%, but that cost would not come out of this tax measure. New question, would people get to vote on changing the limits or just council? It would be a vote by the people. So for us to make any changes to this act at this point, it would have to go out in an election, and the people would vote for that. New question, would a copy of the title for the house be needed? Not sure in a specific reference, if not necessarily. It may be needed for a potential exemption, but we shouldn't need the title for your house for any reason. We had a new question coming in just about one or two homeowners. If there are in reality two homeowners, then you can use the two income limit. So new question, and it's just about having to apply every year. There will be some sort of process every year to process exemptions. I am hoping for future years we can streamline that process, and we will update that webpage when it's time to do so again. Again, my contact info is on the screen here. If you would like to contact me with any questions. All right, I think we are going to go ahead and end there. Again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope this was helpful. Again, please reach out with any questions or concerns, and we will end the presentation there. Thank you so much.